everybody, welcome back to Chicory's Travels. In this video, we're going to talk all about the Harper's Ferry KOA. And this is a campground in Harper's Ferry, obviously. And it's only about a half a mile from the parking area of the Harper's Ferry National Park.
Yeah, and that is in West Virginia, in case you didn't know, very close to Virginia. It's very close to the Washington, D.C. area, actually, probably within an hour or so of that. And we really enjoyed our stay there, but we almost didn't book it because it actually doesn't have great reviews online. And we're going to explain why as we go through based on some of the comments we saw, and then show you some pictures of what we saw when we were there at the campground. But the reason why we decided to go ahead and give it a try was because we were there for a 5K.
Yeah, we ran a 5K that part of it went through the national park, which was really cool and a great way to see parts of the park that we wouldn't otherwise have gone to.
Yeah. So like any other KOA, there's actually a range of sites. And most KOAs that we've stayed at, they have like a smaller, older section that was created, back before RVs were so large. And they usually still have that section, and it's usually a less expensive price. And then they have bigger areas, and this one was no different. So that would be the first thing that I would say is a lot of the negative comments that I saw were based on the smaller sites that were right up front. This was actually a site that we were in. That was all that was left when we booked it. It was just large enough for our 30-foot fifth wheel, not our truck. We had to put that in the overflow area. And even though it was pull through, it was at a 90-degree angle, which made it very tricky for some people.
Yeah, the roads were sort of narrow there too. And again, it just goes back to when RVs weren't as big as they are now. But we managed, and yeah. I thought it was a good site. I didn't have any complaints. I mean, we were close together with our neighbors, but yeah, they didn't bother us. We didn't bother them.
No, so everyone was friendly and no one was playing their music too loud or anything. And there are other sites that will show you that can accommodate you. It's just important knowing going into it what you're going to get. So those sites right up front, like I said, they even show on the map that they're perpendicular to the road. It's a 90-degree turn, which is very difficult if you have a towable or a very large RV. As a matter of fact, you're not going to get a big rig in there anyway. But they did have a new big rig section that were actually very large sites for both the big 40-foot fifth wheels and their tow vehicles were able to fit right in there. Some of the complaints I saw about those online were that there were no trees. This was a newer section. You could tell that it hadn't been there all that long, and it was paved and, more landscaped. And so I don't know. You can't win for losing there, huh?
No. And then they also had a back section, which was a little more spaced out, great for midsize and small RVs, pull through and back in sites. But again, yeah, it was back.
And if we go back, I actually want to try to get those back sites. Although we were happy with our site up front, our site was kind of in the middle of the action and not having kids or anything. I think it would have been nice to be in the back where it's a little more quiet and you really have like this huge yard almost.
Yeah, and they also had cabins like all KOAs and a tent area.
Yeah, and a range of cabins also, from the primitive with just basically a sleeping area to the ones that were deluxe with a kitchen and everything. So there's definitely a site for you. Just know what you're getting when you book it. And then I think the people who were upset were the ones who maybe weren't aware of that. And as far as the amenities go,
awesome.
I mean, there was a lot going on there, something for everyone. Right up front, they had a very large camp store, and it also right next to it was a separate store called Grapes and Grinds, which I really liked because it had like your latte type of drinks, frappuccino type of drinks, anything you wanted. You didn't have to just get plain coffee. And then they also had local wines, and then just kind of like a gift shop as well.
Yeah, and they had a big rec center with different rooms. It had even indoor basketball court,
Yeah.
very large game area, I guess you could call
Mm-hmm.
it. And then they also had a big pool and a big outdoor play area. And they also had a big mini golf course there.
Yeah, it was like an 18-hole mini golf, which you don't usually see at a campground. And then, of course, like all KOAs, they did have a dog park, and this was a pretty large dog park. And then the neat thing is, right in between the dog park and the sites closest to it, you could actually see the little national park boundary marker. So that's how close it was.
Yeah, it was great. And they also had ice cream in there too.
Oh,
well.
yeah, can't forget about that. Where the rec center was, they had a little snack bar. So I think they even had like chicken nuggets, pizza, I don't know, things like that, but they had ice cream.
Yeah. And so, like Julie said, it borders onto the national park. And that section of the Harper's Ferry National Park is called Murphy Farm. And that's what it is. It's an old farm, and they still have the farmhouse there and some trails that you can go on, and also a trail to the main parking area of the national park. But on the Murphy's Farm is where we ran part of the race. So we got to see a good portion of Murphy's Farm.
Yeah, that was really neat. And then the next day I took the trail over. It was less than a half of a mile over to the parking area. So let's talk about the National Historical Park for a minute, because it's a little bit different than a traditional national park. This one is about the history. And so there's this main parking area, and if you were to drive, you could drive from the campground. Also, there's a road that goes there as well. If you were to drive, you go into this one section, and then from there you take a bus to where the actual visitor center and all the displays are. So the only thing that's there in that parking area is they got the place to take your money, they got the bus stop, they got a big parking lot. You also have the option of walking to the historic town, which it's called the Lower Town, and it is 1.5 miles. So you can choose to ride a bus, which is included in your national park admission, or if you have the national park pass, that's free then. And you can take the bus both ways, or you could walk there and then take the bus back, which might be a good way. They say that the trail is strenuous, and the reason why is that it's going to be downhill going there, but it's going to be uphill coming back, and it's got like these really steep, kind of awkward stone steps. They're not like traditional step sizes, so it's like being on a trail. And so you just have to be aware of that and decide based on your own fitness level and the weather what you want to do. And then when you get down to the historic town, however you're getting there, it is got like all these old buildings that, and a lot of them are like museum style, where the people are dressed up in costume and they're telling you a little bit about it. The visitor center's down there, and it has a really good movie that tells you about the history. There's the placards all around. It's a really neat national park.
You're also like at the point of two rivers, I think. So at the very edge of the town, there's water. So it's pretty cool. And they have a old rail bridge, I think, that you can walk across.
And walk or bike ride, I think I saw people, or maybe you have to carry your, roll your bike across. You might have to actually get off of it. But then when you get on both sides of that bridge, it is a famous trail that people do biking a lot. It's like I can't even remember the name of it now. I'll put it down. C&O Canal, is that it? Yeah. And so it's actually a very famous biking trail for a lot of people. And also right there going through the historic town is the Appalachian Trail, the famous hiking trail that goes from Georgia to Maine. So I actually hiked from the campground through the town along the Appalachian Trail. And then this last photo that you're seeing here is a scenic view of Harper's Ferry National Historic Park from a place called, I think it was called Maryland Heights. So it was a really neat hike.
So I think overall we enjoyed our time at the Harper's Ferry KOA, and we'll go back for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll probably run in some races over there again next year. So it's a great place because the race starts like right there. So It's a great park.
Yeah. So if you're going to stay there, just make sure to look at their map. It's online. There's a description of all the different site types. Pick the one that's best for you, and you're going to set yourself up for success, and then you'll really enjoy your stay there.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. And until we see you on the road, safe travels.